And how you doing, how you living, how you feeling, folks? Back for another episode of the Bases Loaded podcast. Now, of course, I'm your host. My name is Zach. I'm idiot number 0. As always, glad to be back in action, baby. Getting more podcasts out there for the world to hear. Always glad to have as many listeners as I can get. The guys that listen, I do appreciate you. Just want you to know that. Don't be afraid to like, comment, subscribe if you're new. I do respond to every comment. I don't get a lot of them, so it's pretty easy. Hit me up on Instagram at the Idiots Podcast Network. I do respond to all questions and whatnot there. But let's get into this episode. This episode's going to be all about the San Francisco Giants. We've seen the Giants, sign 2 of the Boras 4. So I think we're going to kind of start talking about this Giants team, the newfound direction they seemingly have, and just where they might be going, if there's any other moves left on the table for them. What else is possibly within the Giants ballpark here. I mean, obviously they just went out and signed 2 of the biggest free agents in the free agent pool, between Blake Snell most recently and Matt Chapman. So I did say that this team felt a little shaky prior to these signings. I didn't really necessarily like this team. It felt very Metsy to me. They had some upside, but just a lot of real confusion. But in all honesty, I like this lineup now. They got they got a good solid amount of lefty bats in this lineup between Jung Ho Lee, their new pickup from the KBO, Lamont Wade, who he's all right, mid first baseman at best. Conforto, guy who's had some career success. He's kind of been mid too, but I hope the best for Conforto. And then Mike Yastrzemski, I believe grandson of Carl Yastrzemski, a very good Hall of Fame baseball player. And then they also have Patrick Bailey, rookie catcher. They're trying out guys a switch hitter, so that'll be interesting. I like their lineup, the way it's kind of composed. They got a good amount of righty-lefty action in there. They do have Thairo Estrada. Jorge Soler was another pickup they had this offseason. And Matt Chapman. So I think, in terms of righties, they really went out there and actually got guys who can hit freaking lefties. It just seems like that was a huge problem in their lineup, and now they solved it. They not only did they go out there and get 2 solid righty bats, I think in Jorge Soler and in Matt Chapman, they added some real power, something this lineup was sorely lacking prior to this free agency period, but definitely with the recent add of Matt Chapman, it just shows you they're out there to get some more power bats, just get some good juice in the ball. They got that fun, I forget what it's called out in San Francisco, like the triples alley or whatever they have out there. That's awesome. Maybe you can get something fun going with that, but I do want to say I like this lineup a little bit more than I previously had. I think it's developed a little bit more. So with that being said, sorry folks, give me 1 second. All right, that's gonna give me the wrong team, but that's a-okay. So with that being said, guys, on the offensive side of the ball, I'm so still in football season, even though baseball season's about to start. On the pitching side of the ball, we did see them go out and pick up Blake Snell, someone who obviously just won the Cy Young, had a lot of success in San Diego. So I'm very excited to see what he's going to be able to do this upcoming season, with the Giants. He's probably going to be their day one starter. I mean, they still have Logan Webb. They picked up Jordan Hicks, who, in all honesty, I think if Hicks can make the transition to a starter, be a solid, back end rotational piece. But if he can, still be a reliever, they need him to go back to the pen. I think their bullpen would be quite dominant with, the Roger twins and Camilo Duvall. To add a guy like Jordan Hicks in there, I think that would make your team exponentially better. But we'll see what happens as, they'll get Robbie Ray back as they traded for him this offseason. Maybe they'll get him back midseason. He's coming off of, I believe, Tommy John last year. So we'll see what happens there. And then same thing with Alex Cobb. I know he's on the older end. He did get hip surgery as of November, but maybe it'd be cool to see him back if he's back in action, ready to go. Those are 2 high caliber starting pitchers that all of a sudden might knock a guy like Kyle Harrison or even Keston Wynn out of the starting rotation. So definitely intrigued to see what goes on there. Let me see if I could bring up these 2023 stats. I always have trouble doing that with Fangraphs for no reason. But what I will say is I just got an ad block, and oh my god, it actually makes this website work. and it feels so much better. Like I don't get 30,000 pop-up ads that just make my computer crash. This is phenomenal. And this isn't even like a buggy website. It's just like, how every website just has a gajillion ads nowadays. You can go on to freaking the New York Times, you'll be just ads thrown in your face left and right. It's ridiculous. Now, let's see. Can I get the over under on the Giants? Why don't give me game 1. Give me over under wins losses. I want to see what it's looking like. It's got to have changed recently, with these new additions. Last time we talked about it, I believe it was somewhere in the 80s. 81.5 was their most recent over under. But I'm really just intrigued to see what their over under is on the season. Now, of course, I'm getting absolutely shafted in terms of just them giving me good fucking odds for anything. God, just give me the odds. It's all I want. What are we doing? Jesus. All right, this is what we're going to do. All right, looks like it moved up a little bit. 83.5 now. So between the addition of Blake Snell and what's his name and Matt Chapman, sorry, that was unbelievably frustrating to find that silly little number. But between those two guys, that's only a two game addition to that. And honestly, I could see the Giants making a fun run. They've always been a well-managed team. They always seem to bring in guys that no matter what their record is, what they look like, they just go out there and play their hearts out. So I can always appreciate that. But I do really like this Blake Snell signing. I think this just fortifies this team. It really makes it significantly less Metsy between Chapman and Snell. I think that, they really do have some solid guys in this rotation. They'll have Snell for the next 2 years, with Logan Webb, who's 27. I know you might not get every game out of Snell, but even in the playoffs, that's all you're hoping for. You get him in there, and then, maybe that causes Jordan Hicks over the next 2 years to be bumped into the bullpen with a 4-man rotation between, Logan Webb, Snell, and, Cobb and Robbie Ray. That could be really fun for them. They also have Joey Bart, a guy they tried to bring up, I believe, last year and the year before. Hasn't had a lot of real career success, but that's all right. I think he might slowly develop. He was a former number 2 pick. Ooh, excuse me. So we'll see what happens there. But with that being said, guys, I mean, you tell me, do you think the Giants are going to win over 83.5 games? I honestly, them and the Diamondbacks, I believe, have the exact same over-under, 83.5. I think I got to take the over on the Giants. I mean, these two signings really changed my mind. Camilo Doval has been a phenomenal closer for this team for, the good part of, like, a year and a half. They still have Tyler Rogers and Taylor Rogers, who are pretty solid. And their bullpen, they find a way to get it done. They brought in Luke Jackson, a guy who's had a lot of success over there in, I believe, Atlanta. Yep, Atlanta. So they've had a lot of success there. They also brought in Dalton Jeffries, who I don't know anything about. He's 28 years old. We'll see what happens there. But I really think this team has they got some juice. They got something going for them. They want to win. They want to be here to play. So I'm really excited about that. This team has got me excited. They got the juices flowing. They also picked up 2 other relievers, Ethan Small and Austin Warren. They're currently injured, but we'll see what happens there. But yeah, outside of injury, this team's going to get healthier over the year. I think this team is maybe one deadline addition away from really being a fun playoff team. I could see them getting hot right around the playoffs and, barely making it their way in as a wild card and just starting to dominate in the playoffs. Or I could say it. 83.5 games, maybe they're down a little bit towards the end of the season and just have a crazy week or two. This is the type of team that can do that because, especially these guys coming off of injury like, Alex Cobb and Robbie Ray, those guys specifically, when they come back, those additions are going to be felt. They're going to be pretty much like mid-deadline trade additions. So getting those 2 guys back on the roster, I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And, yeah, with that being said, I mean, I really think they improved this team dramatically. I know they had lost Jock Peterson, but I would say replacing him with Jorge Soler is a net neutral. I would argue Paul DeJong is no skin off their back. Alex Wood, not a bad pitcher by any means, but still no skin off their back. John Barabia, he was never a bad reliever, but I wouldn't say he was great. Jacob Eunice, they didn't need him anymore. They have too many pitchers. Sean Manaea, not bothered. They got rid of him. And then they signed and unsigned J.D. Davis. Not bothered. They really did improve this offseason, so good on them. I think they've done a great job this offseason. I really hope their offseason plans turn into postseason aspirations and, a fun fun postseason play for them. I really do. Now, with that being said, I'm going to take the over. I like this team. Guys, I would go out here now and bet this line because I guarantee you it's going to move up sooner than later. Now, with that being said, I'd like to thank you guys for coming out, listening, sharing the time of your day with me. I really do appreciate it. Don't be afraid to hit that like button, that subscribe button. Don't be afraid to throw a comment down in there. I will comment back. Now, with that being said, folks, have a great day and stay idiotic.